Hi friends. So I've been getting a lot of questions recently about my background and my story, and I suppose why I am the way I am, why I'm doing what I do in terms of work. And I suppose I'd like to start my story. As a really young girl, I used to feel people's energy. I could feel what they were feeling so easily. I'm a reflector from Human Design, so if you're aware about that, you'll know exactly what I mean. And my first word was moon, or one of them, I think my mum said. What I learnt from a very young age is everyone has a side of themselves that they tend not to show. And sometimes they'll show more of themselves, but it changes based on how open that person is willing to be and the circumstances that they're feeling themselves into. I learnt a lot about people's pain and how they have formed personalities around it. And as I got older, I felt like that's something I should do too. I remember being about 7 years old and my grandpa said to me, "We always wonder what you're thinking." And I thought, thinking? And that was like the first thought I'd really had. Thinking? What's that? I don't think. I just be, I just observe. But his point was that I was always just watching, just like curiously watching. And I've got really good over the course of my life to see people and their little micro moments that maybe they don't even see themselves. And that got quite a lot when I was growing up, maybe late teens and early 20s, when I was kind of more substance dependent because I didn't really have any outlets for my gifts. I didn't have any awareness of what I was feeling. I just thought I could feel all of these things and it was so weird and I was so weird and da 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 da. You can't talk about this in this life. You know, you can't talk about remembering past lives or having dreams that feel more real than real life, and you can't always talk about stuff like that. I can now, obviously. But when I left university finally, I did a master's degree. I did it in creative writing, which has really helped me with rewriting my story of the past. My childhood was not always easy in many ways, but I've really learnt to see that experience as the making of me. And that's how I choose to tell it always. We are the creators of our reality. Every word counts. And it's not to scare you, it's not to make you feel bad, it's just to say, clean it up. Clean it up. If you want help cleaning it up, get a coach, get a therapist, go to art school, whatever floats your boat, right? But find people who can sit with you in your emotions and not be fearful of them. And learn to take responsibility for the emotions you feel. We don't have to project them onto others and make stories up about their behaviour. So many of us live in our minds, and I used to too, or I'd learnt to. But I also unlearnt that very, very quickly. When I had a breakdown in Vietnam back in 2020, I took myself into the Vietnamese countryside and I cut everyone out of my life for about 6-7 months. I decided to drive on a motorbike from the north to the south of Vietnam. I set up my business, Unfolding Reflections, started by reading tarot cards. Turns out I was fucking brilliant at it. I really was, no denying. And I was getting recommendations and being passed on to people, and it was just like really taking off. And then I came back to England, I came back to the UK and did a lot of family rewiring, lots of root rewiring in my body, really getting to sit with some very deep parts of myself. That journey is ever unfolding. I would never pretend that I have got everything sorted. I don't think anyone has, even those who are enlightened and magical. But we always have expansion in this universe. And so when I arrived back to the UK, I was so angry that I wasn't who I wanted to be. And I felt like I was so bad and so wrong, and I was just wearing my pain as my personality. And I couldn't take that because I'd spent my whole life as this person who cared so deeply about others that I would never say these sorts of things or want to say these things. So I just locked myself in my room like a child. And in that time, I sat with such darkness. I felt such heaviness in my body. I felt like I'd been run over with a steamroller. I had, near-death moments where I saw white lights and my entire world was just completely white, and there was just this blob of me that wasn't really me, kind of floating around in what wanted to be called ecstasy just then, but it definitely didn't feel like it at that time. It felt like little tiny knives pressing against my skin. And now in meditation, I know that to be pleasure. So it's funny, right? The journey we move through. And along the way, I've met so many incredible beings who have shown me more of myself, and they've allowed me to find my confidence and to share myself more with the world. And yeah, now I'm going out on my own terms. I have this beautiful boundary around me that I'm honoring and adoring, that I'm just not sinking to the levels of pleasing others that I have previously been known to do, because I feel so very deeply. And now I know that my health and my wellness is my priority, because as I feed myself and nourish myself, I nourish the collective. And I choose to show up into these spaces and places because it's my calling. I have so many different opposing parts of me, so many different aspects. I'm a Gemini Sun, Pisces Moon, Capricorn Rising. I have a lot of duality. I find hard work sexy, and devotion is easy for me. I feel like there's a whole world inside each of us, none of us are the same. None of us have the same pattern, the same blueprint, the same fingerprint. We're all tiny little snowflakes flying around a big fiery ball. And I've lived in Spain, the UK, Scotland, England. I've lived in Vietnam for 2 years. I lived in Mexico last year. And I've travelled to various places all across the globe, maybe for about a month at a time. And if there's one thing I've learned, that I've observed, it's that people are fundamentally incredibly similar. We all think we have so many differences, and we think we're so much like better or worse than someone else, but in actuality, if everyone could just appreciate themselves for who they uniquely were, we wouldn't have any need for all of this war bullshit or competition bullshit or projection bullshit, because we'd have this healthy self-concept and identity that allows us to really see ourselves with the power that we deserve. And the greatest gift from my perspective that we can give another being is not to give them things for free, or to give them all our time or all of the chances in the world to be the person we know they can be, but to continuously view them as the God that they are. To continuously view them as the God that they are. I'm not even going to give you replacements for that, We're evolved enough, I'm assuming, on this channel, to replace God with the universe or inner being, higher self. They're all just semantics, because we're all talking about the same fucking thing. And some of us are trying to change our reality and create from an authentic place. Some of us are choosing to blame reality and throw blame at another person for mirroring back our pain. And actually, one thing I do really well is I take emotional responsibility for my being. I'm not afraid to share myself when I'm emotional, because that's part of my humanity. That's what makes me fucking beautiful. And that's what makes me, me. This weird little fleshy human suit. I really believed growing up that I had to be masculine or stoic, not show emotion, to be strong. And now I can't think of anything weaker. Someone recently accused me of politeness, and to that I say, thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Because clearly, it's not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. All unfolds in the perfect way, and so it is.